Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 188 of a year of change. Today, we normally would be putting up a documentary. This one kind of fits, but it's sort of a gray area. It's not really a reality show. It's not really a documentary. I'll start jumping ahead here. It's actually someone's YouTube channel, but I've been trying to figure out, should I do this on a Tuesday when we add new YouTubers, or should I be doing this on Friday when we add in documentaries and reality shows and stuff like that? But they aren't really a YouTuber, so I didn't think it really fit in Tuesday. And anyway, it's one of the channels that I follow, and it's not really prolific. They only put up one video every month or so. But it's a doctor, Dr. Mike Evans, and he's done a number of different videos. I first saw one that he did quite a while ago, on obesity, and that's when I first started following him. But he's done a little bit of everything on, injuries and psychological disorders, stuff like that. But his most recent one was on diets. So the video itself, it's fairly short. It's only about 15 minutes long. It's only about 15 minutes long. I don't know where that came from. It's only about 15 minutes long. And they aren't really, they're more along the line of lectures than anything else. It's just him sort of talking into a microphone, and he's got someone that is animating things as he goes. So it's just pretty much a whiteboard, and they speed everything up so that it actually matches the pace of what he's talking about. But it's entertaining as well as informative. So that's why I think it sort of fits in more with Fridays and the documentaries than anything else. So that's where I'll put him, is in recommended viewing. But the thing that he did, his recent one that he put up, was actually entitled "What's the Best Diet?" And generally speaking, once I hear the word diet, I think, okay, I'm going to take the information in, take it with a grain of salt, and just really try to be objective as much as I can. And it's really difficult to do because generally when you're looking at a diet, it's a short-term solution for a very long-term problem. So generally it'll be, well, you cut this out and then start doing this, and then lose 30 pounds in 30 days, and then you're done. Then go back to the way that you're eating, and then, of course, we gain the weight back. But what it turns out to be is really eerily similar to what we've done for the past 6 months. Almost in chronological order as well, which is really, really interesting. So part of this is sort of just that gratification of going, we're doing something right. A doctor says that we're doing something right, so it's really, really good. I've said it many, many times. I'm not a doctor. Go get advice from a doctor. And here is one, and we have advice. But also, it's interesting just to be able to have that sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Confirmation. There we go. Just the confirmation that what we've been doing is on the right path. It can work well. Things have been working for me. Things have probably been working for quite a few of you. But having some science behind it and saying, here's what everything shows that we should be doing, and we've been doing it, is really, really nice. So it starts out very basically just sort of going through the different diets that are out there and saying, there's, I don't even know if it mentions all of them, but it'll talk about the paleo diet or keto diet or low carbs or high fat or high protein, whatever the specialist diet is, that none of them are really sustainable. And he does say that long term, the one that's going to stay, or the one that's going to work for you, is one that you're going to stay with. So whether it's keto or paleo or pick any other ones that are out there, if it's something that you feel that you're going to be able to stick with for the rest of your life, then that's the one that's probably going to end up working. So he does also sort of go into detail showing, there's that oversimplification that we've done, saying eat less, move more. Pretty much. We eat too much and we do too little, I think is what I had said originally. I still stand by that. I'm now eating less and I'm doing more. So it's working. And if you're really going to simplify things, that's what it comes down to. Because we still haven't cut any foods out. And at this stage, I don't see the point why we ever would. It's just a matter of not eating everything all the time, all at once. But he does talk about that as well. Talks about increasing the amount of exercise that we do. Even if it's only half an hour a day or, an hour and a half a week, whatever is, any movement is better than nothing. He talks about, not necessarily just eating less, but improving the quality of the food that we're eating, which is what we've really started looking at more recently in the past couple of months, where we're cutting back on the amount of sodium and the amount of bad fats and replacing those with healthy fats. And then we're going to start in on sugar and things like that, and just really eating better, more than restricting what we can eat and say, well, I can't have that. It's a piece of cake. I'm not allowed to eat it. Yes, you can. It's fine. The problem that we were having was that we were eating, 2 or 3 pieces of cake every day as a snack instead of having it as a treat, as it should be. That was our problem. And still is. Let's not fool ourselves. It would be very easy to sort of backslide into that and just say, well, someone got me a cake. As long as I just don't cut any off it, it's still one piece of cake, so it should be fine. But he talks about the success of a diet really depends on whether or not it's sustainable. And by not cutting out foods and just not restricting what you can eat, but improving, any replacement that you would have, instead of always getting a bag of chips, then, it's fine to have chips once in a while, but replace it with something else. So that, generally speaking, when you are going to snack, you're eating something healthier than chips. They may be the same amount of calories, they may fill you up the same way, but it's not going to just sort of be empty calories. You aren't going to get all the salt and, all the bad stuff that comes along with it. I was going to try to name a bunch of other things, and so it's just bad. So he does talk, I say a lot, I noticed, by the way. I did notice that in the last video. I do that a lot. I apologize, because it's probably driving you nuts, because if I'm noticing it, then someone else already has. Anyway. Sorry. See, there I said it again. He talks about, see, again, this happens every time. I become conscious of something, and then every time I say it, it drives me nuts. And it's going to do the same to you, so I do apologize. But I'm going to try to not say So, he does talk about restricting foods, how we don't really need to as long as we cut back on just the sheer quantity of food for those of us that are overeaters. For those of you that are more junk food people, how to replace that with something that's healthier. Not going overboard with the macronutrients, which is what we've been really studying working with for the past 8 weeks, really. To start out with just our salt and our fat. Now, he's not saying that we shouldn't be paying attention to it. What we've been doing has been good. He does talk about trans fats and saturated fats, showing that it's not necessarily the be-all and end-all. It's not the root of evil in our diet. But if we can replace it with a healthier poly and monounsaturated fats, then we're going to be better off. So just little practical things like that. All the stuff that we've been doing, adding in healthier foods before we start taking away the junk food. And we haven't really been taking it away. It's just that we have a replacement now. Something that we can go to that is healthier and that we're becoming more accustomed to. We're eating fresher foods because we aren't going and buying everything out of a box anymore. That we're getting frozen vegetables are fine. We've talked about that before. Frozen vegetables don't even count as processed food because they're literally just flash frozen. They're at the peak of their ripeness. They're at the peak of their nutrition. They're fine. You can buy as many as you want. But we're buying more along the lines of fresh meat, fresh vegetables, stuff like that, where we're preparing it ourselves. It's not necessarily one of those hippie, tree-hugging organic things. It's just a matter of looking at it and saying, this isn't processed to death. And a lot of it is necessary, a lot of it is unnecessary, the stuff that they add in there. But you have a lot more control of what it is. And depending on how well you budget, it's not going to make or break you. It's not going to be much more expensive than buying the processed stuff. When you get into things like candy bars and little things like that I just had a big spitball came out. Sorry. When it comes to things like candy bars and junk food and fast food and stuff like that, it is insanely cheaper. Those are some of the things that we do have to address, and we have done in the past. that yes, it's cheaper to go and get something like that, but there are some sacrifices we're going to need to make. That's one of them. One of them was time. We had to invest some time in this, whether it's doing, watching the videos or doing exercise. That's one investment that we had to do. The other part is not buying all organic stuff and spending twice as much as you normally would at the grocery store. But if you have $20 worth, try to make that stretch as far as you can at a grocery store rather than spending $20 at a fast food place. Something like that, like little practical things that sort of go hand in hand with what we're doing. So he touches on, well, he doesn't really touch on spending money, but he does touch on eating fresher foods, less processed stuff, more whole foods, things like that. I had something else in my head, and it's gone now because it doesn't take very long. There was a bunch of other stuff that he talked about. Anyway, I'm not going to just rehash everything because you can go watch it. But it's really nice to be able to see what we've been doing over the past few months and see a practical application to it. That's what it was. Okay. I remember what it was. Seeing a practical application to a diet where people always say it's a lifestyle change or it's a journey, which is sort of, it's become almost a cliche now, but it is true. As much as I hate to admit it, it is true that this is something that's going to be lifelong. Like, this isn't something that you're going to say, good enough, we're done in 2 months. At the end of this year, we're going to have to keep going. We're going to keep going for the rest of our lives this way. It's just we're getting to a point where it's going to be not really us striving to maintain it. That's just going to be how we eat now and how we react to food and everything else. But he does also talk about, and this is the thing that I remembered, he also talks about just making those same decisions to control our impulses. And I've said this before recently, that our behavior is really the core problem of our weight. There are contributing factors, our environment, being bombarded with fast food and really cheap candy and processed stuff that's designed to make us eat more. But we do have to go and buy it, we have to bring it home, and we have to eat it. Just like any other drug that's out there, and I do classify it the same as a drug. The only difference is that you don't need a drug to keep going. So we really do need to pay attention and make those healthy choices, and he does talk about that. That if we can get to a point where we're avoiding those cues, that's going to help as well. So the fact that we're going in purposefully, when you go to a grocery store now, you're looking for more fresh, raw, unprocessed food than you are just going around and grabbing stuff out of boxes and everything else. That's one of those things that's going to help. But he does mention as well sour jujubes, which this is why I say this was really eerie all the way through. It followed what we've been doing for the past 6 months. And then he mentions sour jujubes, which are great. They're one of the best candies in the world. And he's saying that he simply can't buy them because he just can't stop eating them. And I'm in there with him. I understand it. I get it. I have found a way around it where I can only have 4 or 5 and I'll be okay. Because of how they're made, you can treat them like a hard candy and they're all right. They still aren't good for us. But it's one of those things that I never want to get to a point when I say I can't buy that. I'm not allowed to buy that, or I'm not allowed to eat this, and I can't have that, because it's so restrictive. And inevitably, you get to a point where you can't eat anything. And well, you know what I mean. Obviously, you can eat stuff. You just can't eat anything that you enjoy. And let's be honest, our entire lives have revolved around food for so long. Trying to get to a point where you say, okay, I'm going to just eat things that I don't enjoy is not going to work. We've tried it time and time again. It simply doesn't work. What we've been doing over the past 6 months, the little tiny changes, adding water in and then waiting for 2 weeks and then adding in vegetables and then changing up our exercise and just starting out something as simple as just going for a 10-minute walk, once a week. And just those little tiny changes that make things easier for us to maintain it and easier for us to get used to it. And it's become part of our routine now. That it's probably very rare for any of you to go over your calories. But even on those days that you have, it's probably not because you've just, at this stage anyway, it's probably not because you've gotten to a point where you're just like, I just need to binge. It's usually, you're going over by 100 or 200 calories. You've gone out with friends or something. You've decided you've just had a rough day. It's been far too busy. you decide to grab McDonald's on the way home, and it's usually after you're putting it in, then you realize, I've gone over. It's not the same as it was 6 months ago, when we would go over by 2 or sometimes 3 or 4 or 5,000 calories a day, every single day. That things have changed for us. And it's really nice to see something like this, that a doctor giving advice saying, here's probably the best way to do this. This obviously is not going to work for everybody. He does show, though, that it works for the vast majority of people. It's in the 90s, percentage-wise, of people that will lose the weight and keep it off. The things that they've done. They've cut back on the amount that they're eating. They've added exercise in there. Not really saying, well, I'm going to restrict my diet, but replacing the unhealthy fats with healthy fats. All the things that we've been doing, in the long term, do show that they work. And I think part of that is because you're never getting to a point where you just think, I can't do this anymore. It's so hard because I have to resist that, and I'm not allowed to buy this. It just makes things, it's become part of our life. So, anyway, I've gone on I've gone on longer than his video. So, anyway, it's not exactly a documentary, but it's something that's good that you can go up and you can watch. It's very entertaining, and I'm hoping it's going to do the same thing for you that it did for me. Just give you that justification, just to say, you know what, yes, I know it's working for me, but it works for other people as well. And we now have a doctor that's looking at this and saying, these are practical things, like trying to be realistic. Saying that you're going to work out 5 hours a day and eat nothing but rice cakes for 6 months to lose, 50 pounds is not a practical way of doing it. Because we do go back. We always yo-yo back in. We always end up gaining more than we originally lost. And, I mean, it's become just such a stereotype of dieting that everyone knows. Like, they're just looking for the next one that is going to help them keep it off. But having someone go through step by step and just so closely match what we've been doing for the past 6 months and finishing everything off by saying, this is what's probably going to work. For the vast majority of people, this is what is going to work to help them take the weight off and keep it off. And it doesn't really focus just on weight loss. It does talk about, trying to eat healthier. And the weight loss will come as a part of that, which is what we've been doing as well. So it's really nice to have just some science behind it. The same thing as yesterday, having that science behind just stop eating the crap and, eat healthier. That's all that we need to do. You don't need to nitpick and look at this and say, well, I can't have this because it has 0.7 grams of fat and I'm only allowed 0.6 per serving and everything else. Just be practical. But it's so nice to see that what we've been doing is now backed up. There's some science behind it saying, yes, we're doing the right thing. And, I mean, although it's working for me, and probably working for a lot of you out there, it's nice having that evidence behind it. It just, I feel a little more secure, all bundled up and go, okay, there's science behind it. It's okay. It's not just me. Things are good. So I'm going to put them in the recommended viewing. I recommend that you go up and actually subscribe as well, because he's got a number of different videos, and they just run the gamut of every topic you could imagine. He has a number of different websites. He's on Facebook and a whole bunch of other stuff. I follow him on Twitter as well. And it's interesting because he'll post when he has little snippets of information, when he puts up a new video, stuff like that. And again, it's very entertaining as well. It's not super flashy or anything, but it's just a quick little 15 or 20 minute, I don't want to really say lecture because it's presentation is probably the best way to put it. But it's nice. It's quite a bit of information packed into a small amount of time. But I think it's very helpful. So that's what we'll put up for today. So I'll put him in the recommended viewing. You can go in, you can take a look there. And of course, go up and see the different videos he has, because there may be something that is completely unrelated to what we're doing. He does have another one on there on obesity that you can go and take a look at. He's got a number of them on a whole bunch of different subjects that are just very interesting to watch anyway. But for now, seeing as I've gone longer than his, it's only about 15 minutes, by the way, so I think I mentioned before. It's not the same as the big, long, hour-long stuff. We do have a number of different ones coming up in the next few weeks where we're starting to look at sugar, because that is going to be the tough one for a lot of us. Just getting away from the cookies and candies and cakes and everything else. Very surprised to see just how much sugar we take in. So that'll be interesting as well. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.